Loved ones in a midst this very day, you are welcome. And our beloved friends from afar and around us, we all rejoice as we welcome you to Granny's Television. Please like, share and subscribe today and join us on our pleasant ways. If you have already joined this very program, we are very thankful, and we just want to say today you are welcome, you are welcome. We love, joy, uphold you, you are welcome. We say you are welcome, oh, you are welcome. We love, uphold you, you are welcome. Sanuda Zuwa, Sanuda Zuwa. That's Hausa I speak, that's Hausa I speak. Sanuda Zuwa, Sanuda Zuwa. That's Hausa I speak. Imbe Woma, Imbe Wosa. That's Igbo I speak, that's Igbo I speak. Imbe Woma, Imbe Wosa. That's Igbo I speak. Eka Roma, Eka Rosa. That's Yoruba I speak, that's Yoruba I speak. Eka Roma, Eka Rosa. That's Yoruba I speak. You are welcome to Learning and Fun with Granny and Friends. Africa is a large continent and it has about 54 countries. Nigeria is a West African country on the continent of Africa. Nigeria has 36 states, over 500 languages, and over 300 ethnic groups. The major languages in Nigeria is Hausa, Yoruba, and Igbo. And today we will be learning about the traditional musical instruments of these major languages in Nigeria. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Happy viewing.
The Yoruba traditional musical instruments include gángan, ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀, agidigbo, gbedu, and so on. An example of the Yoruba traditional attire for both men and women, which includes the adire, aṣọ-òkè, and the kaftan with agbada ńlá and fìlà for the men. And here is a sample of the Yoruba cultural dancers.
Àwàdé àwọn ọmọ Odùduwà dé, àwàdé àwọn ọmọ Yorùbá dé, òkòǹgò bàbá ẹyẹ, kìnìún lọ́ba roko, òkòǹgò bàbá ẹyẹ, kìnìún lọ́ba roko, àwọn jù wọ́n lọ tẹ́lẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀, ojú wọn yá o àwàdé ọmọ Yorùbá dé. Àwàdé àwọn ọmọ Yorùbá dé, àwàdé àwọn ọmọ Yorùbá dé, òkòǹgò bàbá ẹyẹ, kìnìún lọ́ba roko, òkòǹgò bàbá ẹyẹ, kìnìún lọ́ba roko, àwọn jù wọ́n lọ tẹ́lẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀, ojú ni wọ́n yá o àwàdé àwọn ọmọ Yorùbá. Yorùbá ló lókun lọ́sà, àwa lọ́lọ́run fún. Yorùbá ló lókun lọ́sà, àwa lọ́lọ́run fún. Òkun kò ṣeé gbé lọ s'Àbújá, ọ̀sà kò ṣeé gbé lọ s'Àbújá o. Yorùbá ló lókun lọ́sà, àwa lọ́lọ́run fún. Abẹ́ igi òrombó, abẹ́ igi òrombó, ibẹ̀ la gbé ṣeré wa, inú wa dùn ara wa yá, abẹ́ igi òrombó.
Igbo kwenu, yay! Igbo kwenu,
Yay!
An example of the Igbo traditional musical instruments include the udu, the ogene, the traditional flute or horn, and the drums with the wooden blocks. An example of the Igbo traditional attire for men include the ishiagu with the red cap and the tobu, and for the women they wear a blouse on the top with abada, which they call wrapper, and the young girls can also wear bead accessories around their head, their ears and necks. This is an example of the Igbo cultural dance and the dancers.
Bena, 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 one more. Ay, ay, ay. Bena, 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 one more. Ay, ay, ay. Bena, 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 tumbia. Ay, ay, ay. Bena, 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 subia. Ay, ay, ay. Iwete suwiti, bena subia. Ay, ay, ay.
iweta chingom bena sobeya ayaya bena ayaya bena 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 aya bena nwanne mo ayaya kaije na baby shop na 5 akwala kaije na baby shop na 5 akwala ife na-ewe m iwe bụ na afem akọrọ ọkọ ife na-ewe m iwe bụ na afem akọrọ akọ osisi kpọlị nkwụ na-enwe mgbaji osisi kpọlụ nkwụ na-enwe mgbaji na nwa nkwụ n'aka na-enwe aṅụli nwa nkwụ n'aka na-enwe aṅụli iyokoko iyoko iyokoko iyokoko iyoko iyokoko iyokoko iyoko iyokoko ọ bụ onye ga-agba egwu iya ga-agba egwu ọ bụ onye ga-agba egwu iya ga-agba egwu ọ bụ nwata ga-agba egwu iya ga-agba egwu ọ bụ ifele na-eme gị ọ bụ ifele ụmụ okorobịa ọ bụ ifele ụmụ agbọghọ ifele mee gị ifele mee gị ifele mee gị ewu ọ na-agba egwu ọ na-agba egwu ọ na-agba egwu ewu onye ga-agba egwu iya ga-agba egwu ọ bụ onye ga-agba egwu iya ga-agba egwu ọ bụ Chisom ga-agba egwu ọ bụ Ugomma ga-agba egwu ọ bụ ifele na-eme gị ya ga-agba egwu ọ bụ ifele ụmụ okorobịa iya ga-agba egwu ọ bụ ifele ụmụ agbọghọ iya ga-agba egwu ifele gbuo ya ifele gbuo ya ifele gbuo ya ewo ifele gbuo ya ifele gbuo ya ifele gbuo ya o ewo Riza nwanne m bịa kene na ndị egwu abịala ebodo Sicilia nwanne m bịa kene na ndị egwu abịala obodo anyị na-ekwu na-eme eme obodo na anyị na-ekene obodo anyị na-ekwu na-eme eme obodo na anyị na-ekene obodo Ugomma nwanne m bịa kene na ndị egwu abịana obodo Ukeria nwanne m bịa kene na ndị egwu abịala obodo anyị na-ekwu na-eme eme obodo ndị egwu na-ekene obodo anyị na-ekwu na-eme eme obodo ndị egwu na-ekene n'obodo anyị abịawala ewo anyị abịawala anyị abịawala ewo anyị abịawala anyị abịawala ewo anyị abịawala nwaka ndị Igbo ndị na-eme ya nga anyị abịawala pụta pafim gbalụ m n'ọnụ m anyị abịawala anyị abịawala ewo anyị abịawala anyị abịawala ewo anyị abịawala ụmụaka ndị Igbo ndị na-eme ya nga anyị abịawala pụta pawuda gbalụ m n'iru m anyị abịawala ije anyị abịawala ewo anyị abịawala anyị abịawala ewo anyị abịawala ụmụaka ndị Igbo ndị na-eme nyanga anabiawala wete powder gbalụ m n'onu m anabiawala ụmụaka ndị Igbo ndị na-eme nyanga anabiawala wete perfume gbalụ m n'arụ m anabiawala anabiawala ewo anabiawala ewo anabiawala ụmụaka ndị Igbo ndị na-eme nyanga anabiawala wete powder gbalụ m n'onu m anabiawala anabiawala ewo anabiawala anabiawala ewo anabiawala ụmụaka ndị Igbo ndị na-eme nyanga anabiawala wete perfume gbalụ m n'arụ m anabiawala ọkọmel. I like your style. Oh baby, mama, okay, mama, okay. Everyone I like it, show. Alright, okay. You will need to sleep passing. You will need to download. You will need to sleep passing. Teach you what is your guy name. Teach you what is your guy name. Oh, dogo. You will need to sleep passing. Oh, dogo. You will need to download. Oh, dogo. Teach you what is your guy name. Oh, dogo. Teach you what is your guy name. Oh, dogo. You will need to sleep passing. Oh, dogo. You will need to download. Oh, dogo. Teach you show me your guy name. Oh, dogo. Teach you what is your guy name. Oh, dogo. My name, Bangurigidi. My name, Bangurigidi. My name is Sia, Bangurigidi. My name is Sia, Bangurigidi. I come from Africa, Bangurigidi. Bangurigidi, Bangurigidi, Bangurigidi. My name, Bangurigidi. My name, Bangurigidi. My name is Sia, Bangurigidi. I come from Africa, Bangurigidi. Bangurigidi, Bangurigidi. Amukokolo amaje, amukokolo amamu. Egungun lọ́rọ̀ fún ọ̀rọ̀ fún kò légungun kóló àrùn jẹjẹ àmú.
Some Hausa traditional musical instruments include shantu and kalangu. A sample of the Hausa traditional attire for both men and women. The women wear atamfa and usaini, dankwali and gele, and the men wear babban riga on a kaftan with a cap called hula. Hausa Fulani cultural dancers. Salam alaikum gaba da sallama a kasar mu babu sallama ai mugu ne taram Allah sarki babu sallama ai mugu ne gaba da sallama a kasar mu ga ladabi ga biyayya kuma ga mu da so yar uwan mu taram Allah sarki kuma ga mu da so yar uwan mu Allah sarki First lady mu saki jiki ya kai walawalanki saki jiki ya kai barazananki kece wukai kece nama kece da wanda mu ke so taram Allah sarki kece da wanda mu ke so ai yare ina nayi ai yare idan an ga mai gida idan an ga mai gida yana canke mu a tambaye shi kudin abin miya ai yare ina nayi ai yare bungalow ayyare bungalow ban damu ba mace ta yi ciki a kasuwa mace ta aure a kasuwa mace ta aihu a kasuwa bungalow ayyare bungalow ko students dan Allah dan annabi nuna mana yanda ake bungalow idan aka yi haka sai ai haka shikenan tambaye ta cika duniya kowa tambaye ta cika duniya kowa tambaye salamu alaikum students daga taliya sai mafira sai a kashi shinkafa ya Allah na roƙo ka ba teachers shinkafa tambaye ta cika duniya kowa tambaye teachers sun ci shinkafa da sandin the students sun ci shinkafa da sandin kowa ya ci shinkafa da sandin da miyan kihi tambaye ta cika duniya kowa tambaye ni ce ta harko ni ce ta baya ni ce dankalin turawa ni ce ta harko ni ce ta baya ni ce dankalin turawa ni ce sanni ni ce kyalli an sanni ni ce kyalli ni ce kyalli an sanni. La 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 farai ba LL Mariyalwa. La 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 farai ba LL Mariyalwa. Na yi wanka na yi wanki na ɗauka mai zani shafa. An ce Zariya za a kai ni, in dai Zariya za a kai ni ba zan iya zazzala ido ba. La 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 farai ba LL Mariyalwa. Ya yi wanka na yi wanki na ɗauka mai zani shafa. An ce soho za a bani, in dai soho za a bani ba zan iya santan kwarkwata ba. La 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 farai ba LL Mariyalwa. Oh oh dan alewa dan almajir masu daddawa. Oh oh dan alewa dan almajir masu daddawa. Na yi wanka na yi wanki na ɗauka mai zani shafa. An ce Zariya za a kai ni, in dai Zariya za a kai ni ba zan iya zazzala ido ba. Oh oh dan alewa dan almajir masu daddawa. Na yi wanka na yi wanki na ɗauka mai zani shafa. An ce tsoho za a bani, in dai tsoho za a bani ba zan iya santan kwarkwata ba. Oh oh dan alewa dan almajir masu daddawa. Alhaji Bello da BBC sai tomorrow. Alababu hairan mutane na Alhaji Bello, Alhaji Iro da BBC sai tomorrow. Alababu hairan mutane na. Ina dalilin da ba za ka baiwa mabari ba. Uwa da sata, uba da sata, kaman bera shi ne dalilin da ba za ka baiwa mabari ba. Sai tomorrow alabamu hairan mutane. Alhaji Bello da BBC sai tomorrow alabamu hairan mutane na. Wish and two girls are wishing you happy viewing. Wish and two girls are wishing you happy viewing. Our head teacher and our teachers and our parents and our students and everyone. We are wishing you happy viewing. Wish and two girls are wishing you happy viewing. Ladi dingaye ta ci tuwanta ta manta da yajinta. Wa ya saka kwano wannan ya raina uban shi barawo ne. Ga iyata kuma ga kuma kanwar iyata. Ari kan ta girma ta cika ɗaki da kaya. Ari lansar ɗan albasa na yaloji an rama. A shiga ruwa a naɗe a laluko lansar ɗan albasa na yaloji an rama. Zigzag commandation. Baki da wundan commandation, baki da rigan commandation, sai ɗan kwalin commandation. Uban miji ya zagan ya ɗurkusa ina neman mashiga fara. Uwar miji ta zagan na ɗurkusa ina neman mata gafara. Kishiya ta zagan na wulata na juya ta na kai ta ofis sai 'yan sanda sun wulata sun karya ta sun kai ta lahira sai ga ta a duniya. Kishiya ki raba ni da wallahi, kishiya ki raba ni da jan ido, kishiya ki raba ni da wallahi, kishiya ki raba ni da kishiya ki raba ni da wallahi, kishiya ki raba ni da wallahi, kishiya ki raba wallahi, kishiya ki raba ni da jan ido. Gwana ta kaɗa zare ta ce gwani zo ka siya nawa zare sile 35 ni bana shirya ba mai kare ka makarar ka kakkarar kai cije ni in buge shi ya ɓace ni gaskiya ba karya ba in ji malam ɗan sambo mai gidan dokar daji rakumi ɗan atilala yau ina za ka da kaya gidan guntula gumbi inda mata ka bi ɗan maza ka ɗansa a hannu idan mutum bai ga mutum ba sai a ɗaura musu aure bakin lalata gane ni ta gurhana ni anini ce yar kare ni ba sisi na ba anini ne zai maganin yunwar safe bare yunwar rana aya wanda Hassan wanda mai goyo za ta zaure wani zauren da baba karan kasalla kan an jima ta aika yanta da rodi ga haska ga dobino muka askace shi ga gurbi ga goruba muka gurgude shi isban goro ya yi ƴaƴa kamar ya karye bai karye ba ya ɗaga fuska ya duba Allah ya san Allah guda ne iya kuci iya aha My mother Tonio ta shunguli beniya malam mai kunnuwa ya saci budurwa ya makala mata suna har ya bata abincin ma ba daɗi sunan bera alhaji sunan mage salamatu sunan girgiza da ya girgiza alhaji sai maka kwakutu mai babban tuwaiwai ta ga tusa kwari sun shiga aka kirga 65 samun na hada abin na faɗa ne dambe ne to bismillah fatiya yan gyalen ko kuma yan matassini ko kuma lungon hajiya mai dafa yan wake biyar Dan Mariyo, dan Mariyo nawa Mariyo kaje ina ne Mariyo ta je Ilori Mariyo yaushe zaka dawo ne Mariyo sai a watan gobe Mariyo gobe da labari Mariyo jibi da labarai Mariyo adis Mariyo adis Mariyo a hayye yaro a hayye ba yaro ba a hallalaye mata da laya suke je biki a hallalaye in babu laya babu magani a hallalaye yaro taho maza yaro taho maza mu je gida yaro taho maza mu je gida yaro taho maza yaro taho maza yaro taho maza mu je gida yaro taho maza mu je gida yaro ahayye yaro ahayye yaro ahayye yaro ahayye yaro ahayye ba yaro ba a hallalaye a hanci wata tahi wata a hanci wata tahi wata a gashi wata tafi wata a gashi wata tafi wata a fuska ko ni nafi a fuska ko ni nafi yaro taho maza yaro taho maza yaro taho maza mu je gida yaro taho maza mu je gida yaro taho maza yaro taho maza yaro taho maza mu je gida yaro taho maza mu je gida yaro ahayye yaro ahayye yaro ahayye yaro ahayye yaro ahayye ba yaro ba a hallalaye malam yayi kama da dodon daji kuɗin beɗin dodo ba dodo ba kuɗin beɗin bacci na bacci ne dodo ba kuɗin beɗin malam yayi kama da dodon daji kuɗin beɗin dodo ba kuɗin beɗin bacci na bacci ne dodo ba kuɗin beɗin Ɗan Fulani suna yawon shanu, ɗan Fulani suna yawon shanu, sun bar shanu suna yawo, sun bar shanu suna yawo, ku zo mu yi kiwon shanu, zo ku yi kiwon shanu. Show me Ikebe, show me Ikebe super. Show me Ikebe super. Show me Ikebe super. Wallahi lairo tiyalam, wallahi lairo tiyalam, wallahi lairo. Amina wallahi lairo tiyalam, wallahi lairo. Amina wallahi lairo tiyalam, wallahi lairo tiyalam, wallahi lairo tiyalam, wallahi lairo. Aminu wallahi lairo tiyalam, wallahi lairo. Aminu wallahi lairo tiyalam.
Gata nan ku,
Ku zo mu ci ta,
gata nan ku,
ku zo mu ci ta.
yara,
Iye.
ku zo mu taka rawan mata.
Auren Fulani yana da kyau, auren Fulani yana da kyau. Kullum ga nono da mai, kullum ga nono da mai. Auren Fulani yana da kyau, auren Fulani yana da kyau. Kullum ga nono da mai, kullum ga nono da mai. Sabada. Mama na ta fito, baba na ya fito, sabida rawan sabada. Mama na ta hito, baba na ya hito, saboda rawan sabada. Ayaba da mangoro ga tsada amma da daɗi. Ayaba da mangoro ga tsada amma da daɗi. Ayaba da mangoro ga tsada amma da zaki. Ayaba da mangoro ga tsada amma da daɗi. Zigzag and away we go. One little cigar make one visit. The reason why
pull out the same me and no people. Hey, yeah, any time I bash it, sometimes you gotta play the fool to win the war. Hey, yeah, and it's making my pay. Pass me one more, and me one more rose. As I say,
You are welcome to Granny's Tales by Moonlight. Story time, it's a sunny summer day. Story time, bring your friends along. Story time, it's time to learn, there's more to gain. Story time, bring your friends along. Story time, learning fun with Granny. Story time, happy time, bring your friends along.
Welcome, boys and girls, viewers at home, to Granny's Tales by Moonlight. Today's story will be about Mr. Daba, the Connie tortoise, and the very spicy pepper soup competition. So sit back and let us listen and enjoy the story. Story. Once upon a time, there lived a village called Araka Ayawa. Araka Ayawa means the more we are, the better we shall be. In that village, there lived a very cunning tortoise called Mr. Daba. Mr. Daba the tortoise was very wise and cunning in his own eyes. The previous day they had just finished the competition on who was the strongest animal in the animal kingdom. And Mr. Lion happened to win the competition. Mr. Lion gained the respect of all the other animals. And so there came a day that the wise man of the village gathered all the animals that it was time for them to do a competition on who will be the wisest. And so the wise man cooked some pepper soup. Prior to that, he had consulted his oracle, and the oracle gave him the crown, which he hid for the next morning. When the day of the competition arrived, Mr. Tortoise woke up very early in the morning and set out for the competition. On his way, he encountered a very little forest spirit who asked for Mr. Tortoise's help. Mr. Tortoise decided to stop by and help the forest spirit to the competition. The forest spirit noticed Mr. Tortoise's act of kindness and decided to help him in the future. All the animals began the competition. The rule of the competition was whoever sipped out of the pepper soup bowl and screamed, "Hoo, ha, hoo, ha," was out of the competition or had failed the competition. And whoever could sip the pepper soup bowl without saying, "Hoo, ha, hoo, ha," would become the winner of the competition, and in other words, will become the wisest and the bravest of all in the kingdom. And so one by one, the animals came: the lion, the pig, the zebra, the elephant, and so on. Before the competition started, Mr. Tortoise had decided in his heart that he would be the last to compete. He made that decision so that he could study and see what would be the outcome of the other animals. It was a very wise thing he did, because he noticed that immediately they sipped out of the pepper soup bowl, they will all shout, "Ooh, ah," and they will come out of the competition. And so that is how all the animals failed the competition, including Mr. Lion, who was once the strongest in the previous competition. Now it became the turn of Mr. Tortoise. Mr. Tortoise was very kind to a little forest spirit, not knowing that this forest spirit was going to bless him with even more wisdom, because he happened to help the forest spirit to the front of the bowl to sip his own pepper soup, but not knowing that it was not a real animal, it was a spirit. And so the spirit disappeared and advised Mr. Tortoise to drink it slow. Now Mr. Tortoise began to sip out of the bowl of pepper soup, and immediately a wise idea came into his mind. As his shell began to turn red, he began to sing. He then advised the other animals to repeat "oo, oo, uda, uda" as they sang along.
Uda, uda. Everybody sing a macho. Uda, uda, uda. I learned this wisdom from my pastor. Uda, uda, uda. Follow not to be the last. Uda, uda, uda. You don't have to drink so fast. Uda, uda, uda. If you do, you will win the task. Uda, uda, uda. Everybody come and sing a macho. Uda, uda, uda.
As they continued singing along with Mr. Tortoise, they forgot themselves, and that is how Mr. Tortoise finished the whole bowl of pepper soup and was proclaimed the winner of the competition by the wise man, and everybody began to rejoice with him. Mr. Tortoise was so happy, and he was so proud that he kept his trophy for so many days. This spited jealousy in the heart of the lion, the strongest animal in the kingdom. And so Mr. Tortoise decided to build himself a very strong house to prevent any invading lion from coming to attack him at night. My dear children, this is the end of this story. But what have we learned from this story? It has taught us to be wise. It has taught us to be kind to all those around us because we never know who can help us in the future. It has taught us to protect ourselves, that anytime we become successful, people may be jealous of us. And it also taught us wisdom and persistency. Finally, the ultimate lesson we learned from this story today is that wise Mr. Tortoise decided to be the last to compete in the competition. By so doing, he realized that the other animals that went before him sipped their bowl of pepper soup very fast and they all choked on it. And so he gained wisdom in sipping his own slowly. What does that tell us? Slow and steady wins the race. There is no need to rush in life. Mr. Daba the tortoise was very wise and cunning in his own eyes. This was because he had previously won the competition on who was the wisest animal in the kingdom, and he allowed that victory to enter into his head. Instead of using his wisdom for the betterment of the community, he decided to use his wisdom to exploit others. It was a time of plenty, so he thought to himself, how can I gather wealth? What can I do? A cunning plan popped in his mind. His plan was to gather all the villagers' food, sell them off, and become a very wealthy man. And so one day he assembled all the animals in the village and told them that there was going to be famine in the land because he had consulted his oracle, and the only solution was that all the animals in the land should bring all their foods together and choose a wise person to help them store the food. And so they all agreed. But there was one more thing. He also told the animals that they had to use super glue to glue their mouth, and those who have teeth can also remove all their dentures and give to him to hide, to ensure that nobody would go to the barn house and steal some food. All the animals in the land agreed to Mr. Tortoise's advice, and so they gathered all their foods and left it at the doorstep of Mr. Tortoise's storehouse. At night, Mr. Tortoise came in, packed all the food and put in the storehouse. As the days went by, Mr. Tortoise and one of his friends, Odo, became fatter and fatter, and all the other animals became thinner and thinner. And so they wanted to come to the bottom of why is only Mr. Tortoise and his friend Odo so fat. And so they decided to sneak up on Mr. Tortoise. Now, unknowing to Mr. Tortoise, Odo, his friend, had spilled the news to the other animals that Mr. Tortoise had been hiding in the night with all his family and friends and celebrating and eating and cooking, and that's why he's fatter, because he had some disagreement with Mr. Tortoise in the past, and so he still had that hatred for Mr. Tortoise. And so they all decided to sneak up on Mr. Tortoise and his family, and lo and behold, they found them marrying, celebrating, rejoicing, eating.
Oh my god.
And it was a terrible experience for Mr. Tortoise and his friends. They all gathered together, gave him a big whack, a big smack at his back, and broke his shell. And unfortunately, he lost his reputation with all the animals and all the friends in the animal kingdom. And so Mr. Tortoise was banished from the village of Araka Ayawa. He was only left with one friend, Uzi, the bird. Mr. Tortoise decided that he was going to plan a big revenge. What is the moral of the story? The moral of the story is do not trust anyone, because your friends can turn back against you. Also, do not lie, because once that lie is being revealed, we can lose our reputation. Mr. Daba the tortoise was very wise and cunning in his own eyes. The tortoise had previously tricked the other animals into believing that there was going to be a famine in the land, and so he stored up all their foods, sold them, ate them, and the other animals got to find out and gave him a very big beating. He eventually was banished and exiled out of the village. Mr. Tortoise vowed that he was going to revenge. He spent most of his time under the palm tree, listening to the conversation of his bird friends. One day, Opoyo, the parrot, came and discussed with the other birds that there was going to be a major feast in the sky. The eagle, the king of the birds, was going to hold a major feast for all the birds. And so Mr. Tortoise overheard the conversation and thought to himself, this is a very good opportunity for him to do something that would make him outstanding and outshine the other animals for what they had done to him. So he decided to go and meet the witch doctor. Mr. Uboyu, the witch doctor, asked him to go and borrow some of the feathers of the birds, and if they had agreed to lend him their feathers, he will be able to do a magical spell to transform the tortoise, Mr. Tortoise, into a bird so that he can attend the feast. All the birds agreed to lend Mr. Tortoise their feathers, and he took it back to the wise man, who transformed Mr. Tortoise into a beautiful bird and told him, now your name is called All of You. You must also never do evil. His flamboyant beauty made him very proud and pompous to the other animals, forgetting that it was because of their feathers that he was able to be transformed into this beautiful, magnificent bird. He was so proud and pompous he didn't even greet the other animals because he was so full of himself. Uyo the ostrich quickly reminded them that they were running late, and so they flew up way up high into the sky. On reaching the venue of the feast, the waiter requested for their names. All the other birds gave their names, but cunning Mr. Tortoise told the waiter that his name was All of You. Unknown to the other birds, the waiter wrote the names down, went to the chef, prepared the meals, and brought back the food. The chef actually told the waiter to go and serve all of them. The waiter took the food and went to the banquet hall. Unknown to the other birds, the waiter took the whole food and served Mr. Tortoise alone. The other birds called the waiter to bring their own food, and the waiter told them that all the food had finished. Mr. Tortoise had sat down and ate it all. The birds decided secretly amongst themselves to leave only Mr. Tortoise back at the party stranded. The witch doctor had told Mr. Tortoise that the spell would only work if Mr. Tortoise had a good heart. And now the other birds were upset with Mr. Tortoise, and the witch doctor's spell began to fade away. Unknown to Mr. Tortoise, all the feathers had already gone away, and he was left with only his shell. And so Mr. Tortoise became so worried and begged Mr. Raven to beg his wife to put a mattress for him so that he could fall off the sky and land on the mattress. Mr. Raven was so upset that on reaching the house, he told Mr. Tortoise's wife to put in rocks in the front of their house as they were going to be experiencing a hurricane. A mighty wind was about to come and wipe away their house. And so she did. She obeyed and put some rocks. And night came and Mr. Tortoise fell from the sky because it was dark.
God.
He could not see what was happening and he landed on the rocks and cracked his shells. Legend has it that this, my friends, is one of the reasons why Mr. Tortoise has a crack on his back shell. On landing, he vowed to himself never again to be vengeful, never again to be deceitful, never again to tell lies. Unfortunately for Mr. Tortoise, he had lost all his friends and this was it for him. He learnt never again to be cunning, and Mr. Tortoise, however, continued to be the wisest animal in the animal kingdom. He also lived the longest because he learnt from his previous mistakes. He learnt never to repeat those mistakes ever again.
Story time, it's a sunny summer day. Story time, bring your friends along. Story time, it's time to learn, there's more to gain. Story time, bring your friends along. Story time, learning fun with Granny. Story time, happy time, bring your friends along.
Story. Once upon a time, in the village of Araka Ayawa, Mr. Daba the tortoise was now old and wise. He had learned from his life's experience never to do things that would get him into trouble. He lived happily with his wife Mimi and his son Willie. Willie was wise like his father and learnt a lot from him. Very respectful to his elders, but he had a very bad friend who was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. His name is Fifi the hare. Fifi had parents who would never discipline him or correct him in any way. Fifi was very disrespectful to all elders and did everything in a rush. He also ran very hastily. One day, a competition was set at their school to see who would win the race. And when the day of the race arrived, Fifi the hare told Willie, "I may not be as wise as you, but I am faster than you. I will surely win," he said boastfully. And so the whistle was blown and the race began, and the hare sped off really fast and left all the other animals behind. One by one, some of the animals decided to stop and not continue the game, but the little Willie persisted and kept on moving on. Because Fifi the hare was way ahead of the other animals, he decided to have a stop and chit-chat with his friends. While he was doing that, the persistent tortoise continued down the race line and he finally won the race. Fifi the hare was disappointed and he learned a big lesson in life. He learned that whenever you give up on your dreams, those who are determined, disciplined, dedicated, and diligent will always move ahead and become more successful. And so, my friends, just like Baba, his father, Willie also became wiser and older. This was because he learned good manners from his parents. He learned to be disciplined, determined, and he learned to never give up. Slow and steady always wins the race. Be respectful to your elders and never rush in life.
Story time, it's a sunny summer day. Story time, bring your friends along. Story time, it's time to learn, there's more to gain. Story time, bring your friends along. Story time, learning fun with Granny. Story time, happy time, bring your friends along.
Story. Once upon a time, time. There lived two very evil and notorious kids. They were known for doing a lot of bad things. They would lie, steal, cheat, do evil things to their parents and elders as well. They will beat all their younger ones and fight in every neighborhood that they find themselves in. They were very stubborn and insubordinate. One day, they stole a farmer's goats and his farm produce, went home, killed the goats, cooked the produce, and ate it. Everybody became so afraid of them because of the terror and the atrocities they committed. When the market day arrived, a group of friends, Simbi, Edet, Eze, Dudu, Titi, and Bola, were asked to go and buy some rice, stew items, and chicken for their teacher. And on their way going, Nini and Annie snuck upon them, collected the food items, beat them, and asked them not to tell anyone. This finally made the guardian spirit so upset that he decided to teach them a lesson. And so one day, Nini and Annie were walking home. They found a piece of newly minted coin, and before Nini could reach it, Annie picked it up and put it in his pocket. Immediately, he turned into a piece of yam. This made Nini so scared. He took the piece of yam, went home and hid it. He kept the incident a secret to himself and never told anyone. One day as he was hungry, he was about to cook the yam, which was his friend, and eat. And then he had a big knock on the door. The forest spirit called out all the children to assemble by the river bank. On getting there, he saw that the forest spirit began to sing this song. If Nabola eat this rice, if Nabola eat this rice, Ojojo must to beat him, water must to carry him, mommy water must to catch him. And one by one, nothing happened. When it got to the turn of Nini, he was so scared and shivered as the forest spirit began to sing. If na Nini eat this rice, if na Nini eat this rice, Ojuju must to beat him, water must to carry him, mommy water must to catch him. Immediately a big masquerade appeared, beat the hell out of Nini, the water took him away, and the mermaid took him down to the belly of the deep blue sea. So dear children, the moral of the story is, do not lie, do not cheat, do not join evil gangs, do not join bad friends, bad companies, corrupt good manners. It's always good to stay humble, respectful to your elders and your parents, and always do good.
Story story time, it's a sunny summer day. Story time, bring your friends along. Story time, it's time to learn, there's more to gain. Story time, bring your friends along. Story time, learning fun with Granny. Story time, happy time, bring your friends along.
Story. Once upon a time. There were 3 friends. One of them loved everything big, but the 2 others never did. They were very contented with what they had. Until one day, they decided to venture into the forest to hunt for food. They went into the village forest and there was nothing to hunt, so they decided to venture into the forbidden forest that no one had ever gone into and returned. On going into the forest, they realized that they had entered into a trap, and after a while, some masked men took them to their leader. On arriving there, they thought that they were going to be killed, but then the leader asked his men to leave. He then asked for what their names were, and then, with fear, they replied, Eze, Olu, and Bola, and with deep anger in his eyes, he asked them to venture into the deep forest and look for 10 types of nuts. Whichever one that could pass the leader's test will then be released. And so Eze, Olu, and Bola went out to look for nuts. Eze was contented with what he had, and so he quickly went into the forest and picked up 10 ground nuts and came to the man. The man told him, begin to eat it. And with shock in his eyes, he wanted to peel off the groundnut back and chew the nuts, and the man said, no, eat it with it back. So he began to chew on the groundnuts. Before he could finish it, he saw Bola coming with 10 palm kernel nuts, and so he was so sorry for Bola because he knew Bola was going to eat it with the back. And before he could say anything, the man said, begin to eat it. And Bola looked around for stones to break the palm kernel nut, but the man said, no, you have to eat it with the back. And so Bola began swallowing the palm kernel nuts one by one. While he was eating the palm kernel nuts, he was struggled to finish up till the 9th one. He began to cry. As tears rolled down his eyes, suddenly he began to laugh. And the man that caught him began to wonder, why are you laughing? And there came Olu with 10 huge coconuts. What is the moral of the story? It's not good to bite more than you can chew. Sometimes bigger is not better. It's always good to be contented with life.
Story time, it's a sunny summer day. Story time, bring your friends along. Story time, it's time to learn, there's more to gain. Story time, bring your friends along. Story time, learning fun with Granny. Story time, happy time, bring your friends along.
Story.
Once upon a time, time.
There lived a wise king who wanted to know who had integrity in his village. He wanted to appoint someone he could trust to a very high position in the land. And so he decided to create a secret test for the villagers. He told his subordinate to boil some corn and give it to everyone and ask them to go and plant it and bring back a bountiful harvest. Whoever was able to bring most harvest would become his elected one. And so the corn was given to everyone. A few months passed. The villagers realized that the corn given to them was not growing, and so some of them decided to purchase new corn and plant. While the time for harvest came, they harvested the corn, put it in bags, and took it to the king. But there was one person, Mr. Olu. Mr. Olu was a very good man. He decided to go to the king's palace without anything but the same corn that was given to him. As everyone presented a bountiful harvest to the king, Mr. Olu walked up to the king and said, "Your Majesty, may you live forever. I received this piece of corn about a few months ago. I realized while I planted it that it never grew, and so I decided to bring it back." And so the king looked at everyone, as others were believing that they will be the elected one because they brought a bountiful harvest. The king stood up and gave honor to Mr. Olu. He spoke to the crowd and said, "I gave all of you cooked corn, and boiled corn does not grow. So none of you have integrity except for Mr. Olu here." And so he awarded Mr. Olu as the highest county leader, the leader of his village and his kingsmen. And so what have we learned from this story, children? It's good to have integrity. It's good to be truthful, because deceit only brings trouble.
Story time, it's a sunny summer day. Story time, bring your friends along. Story time, it's time to learn, there's more to gain. Story time, bring your friends along. Story time, learning fun with Granny. Story time, happy time, bring your friends along. Story. Once upon a time. In a village very far, far away, there lived a wise king who had everything he needs. But there was one thing he didn't have: a child. He wanted a son very badly, but he kept on marrying, even up to 3 wives. As the years went by, none of them had a child, and so the high priest of the village performed a miracle, and that miracle made all 3 wives conceive at the same time. The wise one advised the king to send all 3 queens to their mothers' houses to bear the children, and whichever one had a male child will become the head of all the queens. So all 3 wives were sent home. The first wife went on her way, the second went on her way, and the third, unfortunately, was very poor and she didn't have anywhere to go. So she decided to venture into a forbidden forest. While she was going on her way, she found a very little hut, and she noticed that there was smoke coming out of the chimney. As she knocked at the door, an old woman opened the door and then invited her in. She explained to the old woman that she had nowhere to go and that she was pregnant with child. And so the old woman allowed her to stay with her until she bore the child. While she was staying with the old woman, she portrayed to the old woman that she was of good character. She helped the old woman with her daily chores and errands, with food and water as well, and never made fun of the old woman in any way. And so the old woman was pleased with her. She decided to help her. When she gave birth to the baby, she gave birth to a baby boy, a beautiful baby boy. And so the time arrived for her to return to the palace with the baby, and the old woman gave her a magical golden ring which will give her and the baby anything they want. And she advised her never to give her baby to anyone. She also told her to always feed the baby beef porridge soup and sing this song. My baby, I love my baby. If you go away, please come back. Oh my baby, I love you so. And while she keeps singing, her little one would fall asleep. So the day arrived for her to return. The old woman warned her, take this ring with you and never let anyone to touch your son. She appreciated and thanked the old woman and went on her way. On reaching a fork road, she saw the first wife with a baby girl and the second wife with a child that was sickly ill. And so they all came around her and said, oh, congratulations, we notice you have a baby boy. And then the one with the sickly child quickly snatched her baby boy from her and left her with the sickly child and ran away to the palace. And so she wept as she hurried to the palace. On arriving there, she noticed that the king was pleased with the second wife because she lied to everyone that the son was hers. With deep sorrow in her heart, the real mother of the baby boy had no choice but to kneel down and explain that her son was snatched and stolen from her. And so the wise one of the village said, let's find out who speaks the truth between these 2 women. Asked the queens to prepare a meal and set it in front of the children and sing their favorite songs. Whichever child goes to eat whichever food, that will be his mother or her mother. They cooked and the parents began to sing. Everyone stood in shock because they realized that the second wife had lied, had stolen, and the baby boy quickly crawled up to his real mother. And the king was so pleased with her and made her the queen of the village. Unfortunately for the other wife, she was banished away from the palace, never again to return because of her evil deed. And so, my dear children, The moral of the story is do not lie and do not be deceitful. Lies and deceit only brings trouble. It's always good to be truthful.
Story time, it's a sunny summer day. Story time, bring your friends along. Story time, it's time to learn, there's more to gain. Story time, bring your friends along. Story time, learning fun with Granny. Story time, happy time, bring your friends along.
You are welcome to Granny's Tales by Moonlight. Today's story is about the boa suitor. Hope you'll learn a thing or two. Happy viewing. Story. Once upon a time, there lived a very beautiful girl. She was so beautiful that she actually turned down so many young suitors who came for her hand in marriage. And so one day, an evil spirit transformed himself into a prince and came to the village. Unknown to her, she thought he was a real prince. Prior to that incident, a farmer came and asked for her hand in marriage, and she said no. A fisherman came. She said no. And she turned down all the people in the village except for one. The one she thought was the handsome prince. He came with a beautiful horse, gifts, and every beautiful things you can think of, things for her. And so she agreed to marry him, and they performed the wedding. On the way back home, she realized that he became a big snake, a big boa. She began to weep. With sorrow in her eyes, she begged him to return back to her father's house, but he would not allow her. And so he forced her to go and live with him in a cave. And that was her lesson. Every night, in tears, she would sing this song. Malang yayi kama da dodon daji, kudin bedu dodo ba dodo ba, kudin bedu bacci na bacci ne, dodo ba dodo ba, kudin bedu. Malang yayi kama da dodon daji, kudin bedu. And so, as she would sing the song, the boa would fall asleep. And so one day she tried to run. And thank God she saw a tortoise who helped her escape back to the village. And she told her story and advised other young women not to be too selective and too choosy when it comes to choosing a life partner. The moral of the story is that not all that glitters is gold. Do not go by appearance, because appearance and looks can be deceitful.
Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Learning and Fun with Granny. See you later. Goodbye.